For decades, India has built its foreign policy around one central idea: strategic autonomy. Rather than becoming part of competing military blocs, New Delhi has traditionally preferred to protect its national interests through balanced diplomacy, independent decision-making, and carefully measured engagement with every major power. But every strategic doctrine is eventually tested. Sometimes that test comes not through political debate, but through events that force governments to reassess long-held assumptions. One such moment emerged when commercial vessels linked to India encountered a serious security incident while transiting one of the world's most strategically important maritime corridors, the Strait of Hormuz. The episode immediately raised difficult questions about maritime security, energy supply, and how neutral states should respond when their own commercial interests face increasing risk. To understand why this matters, we first need to understand the geography. The Strait of Hormuz is far more than a narrow waterway connecting the Persian Gulf to international markets. It is one of the world's most important energy chokepoints. A significant share of globally traded crude oil and liquefied natural gas passes through this corridor every day. Any disruption, whether military, political, or commercial, immediately attracts the attention of governments, shipping companies, insurers, and financial markets across the world. For energy importing nations like India, stability in these waters directly affects economic security at home. This is why maritime security cannot be separated from national security. When commercial shipping faces uncertainty, the consequences extend well beyond the vessels themselves. Supply chains become vulnerable, insurance costs increase, shipping schedules change, and businesses begin reassessing operational risks. Even limited disruptions can influence fuel prices, industrial production, and consumer confidence. Modern geopolitics is increasingly shaped not only by military deployments, but also by the resilience of global trade networks. Another important lesson concerns credibility. Public assurances regarding safe navigation are valuable only when commercial operators continue to trust them. Shipping companies ultimately make decisions based on observable conditions rather than political statements alone. They monitor risk continuously because every voyage involves cargo worth millions of dollars, together with the safety of civilian crews. When commercial behavior begins changing, despite reassuring public messaging, analysts should pay close attention to what those decisions reveal. For me, this episode is not simply about one reported maritime incident. It represents a broader question facing many middle powers today. How can a country preserve diplomatic independence while simultaneously protecting its own citizens, commercial shipping, and critical economic interests in an increasingly uncertain strategic environment? The answer, as we will see, lies not in abandoning neutrality, but in redefining what strategic independence actually requires during periods of rising geopolitical tension. The response that followed is what makes this episode strategically significant. Many observers assume neutrality means remaining passive during periods of international tension. I disagree. True strategic independence does not require inaction. It requires the ability to protect national interests without becoming dependent on the objectives of any external coalition. That distinction is essential for understanding India's broader approach to regional security. One of the most notable developments was India's decision to strengthen the protection of its own commercial shipping through independent naval deployments while maintaining its long-standing policy of strategic autonomy. Rather than presenting this as participation in a wider military coalition, the objective remained focused on safeguarding Indian vessels, civilian crews, and vital maritime trade. This reflects a broader strategic principle. A nation can increase its security presence without fundamentally changing its diplomatic identity. Diplomacy also played a central role. Formal diplomatic engagement serves purposes that extend beyond public messaging. It communicates national priorities, reinforces expectations under international law, and signals that commercial shipping and civilian navigation remain matters of serious concern. Effective diplomacy is often measured not by dramatic headlines, but by its ability to reduce uncertainty while preserving channels for future dialogue. This episode also demonstrates how modern conflicts increasingly affect countries that are not direct participants. Global energy markets, maritime insurance, commercial logistics, and international supply chains are deeply interconnected. A security incident affecting one strategic waterway can influence businesses, consumers, and governments thousands of kilometers away. Geography ensures that certain maritime corridors carry global consequences far beyond their immediate region. Perhaps the most important lesson is that strategic autonomy is not a fixed policy. It evolves alongside changing realities. Governments continuously reassess risks, capabilities, and national priorities. Maintaining diplomatic flexibility does not mean ignoring emerging threats. Instead, it requires balancing security, economic resilience, international partnerships, and independent decision-making, without allowing any single factor to dominate national strategy. Ultimately, I believe this story extends well beyond one reported maritime incident. It illustrates how middle powers are adapting to a world where military competition, global trade, energy security, diplomacy, and maritime law increasingly intersect. The countries that navigate these challenges most successfully will not necessarily be those with the largest military forces, but those capable of combining credible security measures with diplomatic flexibility and long-term strategic planning. In the years ahead, the Strait of Hormuz will likely remain one of the world's most closely watched waterways. Yet, its greatest significance may not lie in the ships passing through it, but in the broader lesson it offers. In today's international system, strategic independence is measured not by standing apart from global events, but by responding to them with discipline, balance, and carefully calculated national priorities.